Hello, my name is Stephen Hernandez, and I'm the Executive Director of the Legislature's Nonpartisan Commission on Women, Children, Seniors, Equity, and Opportunity. Government is yours. Government is to be run by you and on your behalf. How do you feel about your relationship with your government and community? Are you civically engaged? Is your voice being heard? These are issues we want to hear from you about. Today's conversation spotlights the Commission's latest project on civic engagement, made possible through the generous support of the Hartford Foundation for Public Giving, among others. Join Commission partners Brenda Calderon and Godfrey Azima as they discuss the Commission's efforts to survey Hartford's residents about their civic engagement and share how you can make your voice heard.
I'm Brenda Calderon, an external consultant to the Commission on Women, Children, Seniors, Equity, and Opportunity. Today, I'm joined by Godfrey Azima, a fellow at the Commission, to talk about the civic engagement work and research that he is leading at the Commission, thanks to the generous support from the Hartford Foundation for Public Giving. Thank you so much, Godfrey, for being here today to share your insights on the project with us. Godfrey, you are in the process right now of disseminating a survey on civic engagement across the Hartford region. And part of our goal with this conversation today is really to encourage people listening to take the civic engagement survey and have their voice heard. By the way, if you're wondering how to take this survey, you can check out the link below on the screen and in the description of this video to do so. It's also posted to our Commission's Facebook page. And then our other goal, Godfrey, is really to just get people informed about the project. So for starters, I'm sure that there are people watching this conversation right now on social media for whom civic engagement is a totally new term, and other people who might be familiar with the term but are kind of unsure about what exactly it means and what being civically engaged looks like. So I'm curious, Godfrey, what does civic engagement mean to you, and how are you defining civic engagement in this research?
Thank you, Brenda, for really taking this time to have this conversation and help me just articulate and welcome people into what civic engagement is. Civic engagement is really a set of activities that are done by members of the community to promote a quality of life in their community that promotes social and moral beliefs that are unique to that community, together with activities and actions that, when completed and executed, really not only benefit the person, but also the community at large. And visually, how that represents and manifests is really through engaging in activities that are both political and non-political. For example, this could be engaging in activities such as attending your local town halls, your local Board of Education meetings, taking the time to observe and watch videos regarding upcoming legislation, versing yourself in testimonials and the process for how to submit them to get your voice heard at any public hearing, volunteering at organizations such as Parent PTA, volunteering at organizations such as your local YMCA or Boys and Girls Club, participating in observing and watching news pertaining to community events happening in your area, things that support well-being of life that is important to you as an individual and reflective of your community and family that you've come from.
Yeah, I saw that one of the examples of civic engagement in the survey that the Commission has put together is even watching the news. You know, I am the proud daughter of two Puerto Rican parents who always instilled in me the importance of civic engagement and how important it was to go out there in your community and volunteer, to your point, right, at the local food pantry or at the local youth organization. And also the importance of just staying up to date and abreast of, you know, the latest issues in the country and in your state and in your city. And so I am just so excited that the survey really hits on all of these different kinds of civic engagement that are possible. I'm curious, you know, it's important to note that while the survey does ask people the kinds of civic engagement activities that they are involved in, we also want to know about people who don't feel civically engaged, right? We want them to also have their voices heard and to fill out the survey. In fact, I know that part of the survey is actually dedicated to uncovering the reasons why people might feel less civically engaged. Can you speak a little bit to that part of the survey and what you're trying to discover there?
Some of the priority intentions behind the survey is to really understand the relationship that exists within communities in Hartford region and our local government. And relationship and understanding and acknowledging how unique it is to the person, to the member of the community, it's taken from that perspective. Understanding the unique characteristics that drive positive, increased amounts of civic engagement, or acknowledge the things that are unique to that area that may not fall into a very neat category for what a large number of people may describe as civic engagement, but more so aligned with your example of how personal it is to you and how that drives some of the meaning behind what you choose to engage in. And really trying to uncover how unique that is within the different communities within the Hartford region. We've gone through a lot of changes the past 2 years. There's been a lot of outlets and opportunities for people to receive information, to also voice the reactions and concerns to it, and really being able to capture that current perspective held by members in our community for how they relate to their local government, or where we can further support them in getting more comfortable and getting the skills and understanding to just continue to think critically. These are all individual aspects that are important to be highlighted and intended to really be able to dispel and articulate from the results of this survey. And also being mindful that it's not a static definition across our communities. Really being mindful and acknowledging just some of the post-traumatic stress we've experienced over the last 2 years, and sensitive to where that may influence people's decisions to really further engage, or may impact people's ability to not be engaged in the manner they intend. These are all important things to uncover in understanding how unique our communities are and how the definition is not static across Hartford region. And acknowledging how it's not the same, I am not able to articulate what that looks like. And this is where the importance of voice and input and respondents to the survey and participation in focus groups really helps put together our understanding and apply contextually to the individual communities.
Absolutely, yeah. And speaking about sort of individual communities, I'm really excited about the different sort of options that there are as to why people might not be civically engaged in the survey. So there's, reasons ranging from, I have a mistrust of our government, to I don't think that this type of civic engagement is actually helpful or creates change, to I just don't have enough time, or I don't know where to go to in order to get these resources, or in order to get involved. And I think that is so important, because each community is going to have a different reason of why they're not engaging civically, or different barriers to civic engagement. I know that, for example, for my parents, even though they instilled this love of civic engagement in me, both of my parents were Spanish speaking only for most of my life. So one of the biggest barriers that they had towards their own civic engagement was a language barrier, and also not having sort of time. My father worked at a factory, worked a lot of overtime. He didn't have time to get as involved in the community as he wanted to. And, another barrier was just not knowing what opportunities were out there for them to get involved in. And so these are the kinds of things that we want to figure out about our communities, in the hopes of actually being able to figure out a plan for how can we engage people moving forward.
Spot on. I really appreciate you highlighting some of the examples that prevent folks from being as engaged as they may intend to be, or just by anyone's definition, but really bring it home to what's important to that person. The beliefs that I'm operating from is that our connection to our community is multifaceted. and it's one that's strength-based. No one achieves anything alone. In the terms of how we're living in current society, we're all experiencing it together, or whether you choose to come out of a silo and acknowledge that, it's something that's done together. And the belief that there is a true want for individuals' quality of life to be better, sustained, and that really happens through how you apply your understanding of what matters to promote those qualities in your community. And it's okay for it to be driven by something completely different than your neighbor, for it to be driven by something that's culturally influenced, for it to be driven by knowledge you've acquired that further causes you to just be more inquisitive, or really gain firm perspective and beliefs around what type of things should be in place and advocated for. These are a myriad of examples that kind of highlight how civic engagement looks. And for those that have no intent for any political involvement, does not mean you're not capable or actually civically engaged. It's still able to be accomplished by just being a meaningful contributing member in your community, volunteering, disseminating information, working in your community, whether it's a nonprofit or for-profit organization. These are all things that, in understanding what's influencing your decision for how you are part of your community, there's no wrong answer. The importance is capturing what that looks like now in this time post quarantine experience, in the midst of hopefully ending pandemic. There's so many factors that influence the fact that it does not look the same as we have grown to know it up until 2 years ago.
Absolutely. I think there's been so many seismic shifts in the past couple of years that have led people to either get more civically engaged or to become disengaged in many ways. And, we really want to make sure that the listeners watching right now, check out the link in the description, check out our Facebook page, the Commission's Facebook page, and also check out the link that appears on the screen and actually fill out this survey, because we want to know, are you civically engaged? If so, how are you civically engaged? What are the specific activities that you're involved in? And if you don't feel civically engaged, what are the barriers? What's going on? How can we get you civically engaged? Godfrey, I'm curious, why do you hope that people fill out this survey? What is it that you're hoping to uncover? How will you actually put that information to use?
Everyone's voice matters. While in this current discussion, I'm presenting either focus groups or the link to the survey, I want to be clear that that is not the only way to really convey your voice and really articulate how you're civically engaged. Reaching out to me directly via email, these are all things that to me support the importance of everyone's voice matters. And what I hope to discover is really dispelling assumptions that people gather through whether it be unique data sets of information around a community or trends or behaviors that people have monetized prior to that are oftentimes generalized to describe a region or activities that are taking place or not taking place. Soliciting voice and input from the community is actually what will further promote the type of civic engagement that we are seeking to promote and create an opportunity to participate in. Really being able to dispel certain groups' involvement to civics, acknowledging things that are unique or uncovering information that we weren't aware of that's now manifested itself for something that should be known to legislators and individuals really in charge of making decisions on behalf of their community. We want to assure that the pulse of the community and the manner for how the community is paying attention and knows where to voice agreement, disagreement, concerns with anything pertaining to the well-being of their quality of life in the community. People are clear how to do it. There's an understanding that their voice is factored in to decisions made that directly impact them currently and in the long run, and the opportunity to ask questions. I don't believe everyone that we connect with will be seasoned advocates, lobbyists. There's individuals who hold a certain belief around how activities or things that can be improved in their community that really are significant, but just isn't voiced in the manner that we're accustomed to. And I want to capture that. I want to know that. I want to be able to articulate that to further be clear and concrete for what relationship exists in individual communities with our civic leaders, because this is helpful to them. Before getting into what decisions will be made, just being able to assure that the duties that are required of you as a public servant, being able to assure that it's relevant, it's current, it's contextual, it matters, being clear where folks disagree. To me, these are all important things that have to be factored in to really support a quality of life in a community that matters to people.
Absolutely. One of the things that you alluded to that I know that we've talked about at the commission is really taking the results of this survey back to community leaders, right? And showing them, hey, this is how many people are engaged in this way. This is how many people want to be engaged in this way. And here are the reasons why they're not engaged in that way right now, so that we can do something about it, right? And obviously all of the results from the survey are anonymous, but we do hope to go back to community leaders and show them the results, right? Show them the percentages and kind of seek to understand together and to create action plans around how can we get people more involved. And that's why it's so important that people fill out this survey all across the Hartford region. So if you're watching right now, please click the link below, click the link in the description, go to the Facebook page, and make sure that your voice is heard, so that we can really kind of put forth a really informed strategy around how to get you engaged. Anything you'd add to that, Godfrey?
These are great opportunities for us to learn, and I found that whenever this is leveraged, it really does lead to intended or newly designed outcomes that really benefit us all. And not to sound like someone that's pure optimist, but to really put to meaning the importance of this, that gets accomplished through just the feedback and the responses to these questions in the survey. Every response matters. There is no expectation to really dig and obtain things that help us understand where our relationships exist from a negative perspective. That there's no focus on that. There's no intent to prove any theory. It's a true approach and intent to understand what the current relationship that exists.
Absolutely, yeah. I really wish a survey like this was around back when I was coming up and growing up, because I think it would have been really powerful, right, for us to have had this information 20 years ago, 25 years ago, right? And understand, these communities in Hartford or these communities across Connecticut are not finding ways to engage because of XYZ barriers. And, imagine 20 years of us getting to do that work. So I'm really hopeful about the results of this survey. I'm really hopeful about what our community partners will be able to do with the results of this survey. They've been so hard at work over the past couple of years and decades, right, trying to get people civically engaged. And so hopefully this research and this survey just helps add to the work that's already being done, and hopefully helps us refine that work. So I'm curious, Godfrey, I know that there have been some results that have come in thus far. We want hundreds more results, right? Hence why our listeners should really, really fill out that survey. What are the results showing thus far?
A few things to highlight is news. It seems to be consistently utilized as one form of method to really further understand your community. Things that fall within the category of civic engagement for either establishing an understanding, for reaffirming a perspective, for sharing information about something that you should be involved in either knowing more about or voicing. News has been a consistent resource for that. Also, volunteering has been shown through many different methods by our respondents as something that's consistent as an activity for how folks are currently engaging, intend to engage, and has been something that has been really unique to the communities. The methods and places where individuals are volunteering really help understand the wide array of how visually civic engagement looks. Fundraisers, call banking, helping candidates campaign, promoting polling sites, and any changes to processes that residents need to know, whether it be long-term or in the short term. Really being able to articulate information that is inaccurate, that once dispelled will just help increase comfortability in folks engaging or to further question the process. Areas that where the community seem to need more information or information needs to be presented and shared more, were how to physically engage in town hall events, upcoming local municipal board meetings. And some of this was expected and really being mindful of the current conditions of how individuals are able to gather. And while this isn't a okay or a bad response, but it speaks again to some of the current context that really shape where individuals look to get information more about, or just are not completely aware, or there needs to be more effort in presenting and articulating different methods to engage in events that can be either in person or combination in person and Zoom. Another aspect is the definition of civic engagement. And this is probably the most revelating in acknowledging the variation of ways civic engagement has been defined by our current respondents. And what this has really influenced and really given me a more priority in action planning around is doing focus groups that help give contextual understanding, neighborhood, community, churches, places where we gather and know and feel we belong, further understanding how community and direct connection really shapes and influences your decision to get involved. And also new definitions of civic engagement that are emerging. This is also noticed in the wide variation of how individual respondents have defined what civic engagement is to them. It's comforting and something I really appreciate, pointing out that it is not a static definition, and there isn't a general definition that I can lean to and point to and say this is a theme for how everyone taking the survey is defining civic engagement. It really speaks to the uniqueness and meaningfulness around what is driving people for how they're engaged, whether it's just simple knowledge, whether it's inquiry around where they can physically be involved, get more involved, vote, understand processes that are not political, that define civic engagement. It's exciting, and really getting close to some of these questions. I really hope to have that obtained through these listening and learning focus groups that will be conducted.
Yeah, you shared the data with me, Godfrey, thus far, and one of the takeaways that I had looking at the data, and I think you mentioned this, was the fact that a lot of people are pretty split on whether or not they're engaging in certain ways, like whether or not they're voting in elections, for example. About 50% of people said that they do always vote in elections. Another 50% said that they vote inconsistently in elections. Another example was donating to political campaigns, right? Maybe 40 to 50% of people were saying, oh, we donate to political campaigns. Another, 50 to 60% are saying we don't engage in that way. And same thing with town halls. One of the things that was unanimous was the news. A lot of people, about 70% of people, said that they definitely keep up with their local and state level news. But it's really interesting to see that the sort of the splitness of engagement, but then to look at how many people hope to get involved in that way in the future. And that was really interesting data because a lot of people want to get involved. A lot of people are saying, hey, I definitely want to do this in the future, or I will consider this in the future. And that, I think, signals to us, to your point, Godfrey, that we really need to start disseminating some information around how people can get more and more involved.
Definitely, and even driving the point home, the learning opportunity that's available in administering the survey, introducing individuals to new terms or processes that up until reviewing the survey wasn't a known method for an activity that defines civic engagement. And then what I'm finding out from respondents as we continue on with these surveys, and the multiple definitions of where news is captured from, that really captures and defines media, Facebook, of course, your local news, your local radio station that may be unique to your language, church, identifying trusted messengers has been something that has been helpful, in really understanding where people trust their news from, and where they feel confident it aligns with what their community values are, their familiar values are, or simply outright to cultural. These are all things that are okay to exist in a combination or individually to influence how you define and engage in your local civics.
Godfrey, can you remind everyone about how they can get involved and have their voice heard? Where can people go to fill out the survey?
Survey is available, surveymonkey.com at Hartford Voice Matters. This is the direct web address where people can access the survey together with Facebook.
Yes, absolutely. And I want to emphasize that the survey is also available in Spanish. So please, 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 everybody watching, take the survey yourselves. Make sure that you are sharing the surveys with both, Spanish speaking and English speaking communities across Hartford. So share with friends, families, colleagues. Let's get the word out there, all of us together. Any other calls to action? Yeah.
I want individuals who are watching to be clear in understanding that outside of the survey and focus groups, you can also reach me directly via email at godfrey@hartfordtimes.com. Whether it's just sharing your general views or perspective, or simple questions. There's no one way for us to really get a full voice of Hartford, and I want to make sure people feel welcome to reach out to me with feedback and input that's consistent with the questions or not at all in the questions. It all matters. And this, no matter how loud or how many your voices, it's extremely helpful to really centering our understanding within the communities for how a current relationship looks with our local government.
Absolutely. I want to thank the commission. Thank you, Godfrey, for being here today to tell us a little bit about this project. Thank the commission for engaging in this work, and also thank the Hartford Foundation for Public Giving, because it was their generous support that really has made this possible. So thank you again to our audience for joining us to hear a little bit about this project. I sincerely hope that you check out the survey at the link in our description on our Facebook page, that you contact Godfrey, that you share it with your networks, especially reposting it on social media, I think is a great way to get involved so that your friends, families, and colleagues can see it. Make sure that you take the survey.
Thank you, Brenda. Thank you, everyone who's watching and will be engaging.
Thank you so much. Bye now.